My name's Tiffany. I'm 34 now, but that Christmas dinner will never leave me. My 9-year-old daughter was seated by herself, tucked onto a folding chair right next to the trash can, as if that's where she belonged. Everyone acted like it was perfectly normal. Leah, my daughter, lasted a few minutes before she stood up, walked over, and whispered to me, "Can you do the thing you promised you'd do if it felt bad again?" So, I did. 5 minutes later, my mom was screaming. If you've ever felt betrayed by the very people who should have been your biggest supporters, you'll understand. I'm married to David, and I'm Leah's mom. Legally, she became mine when she was 3, but truthfully, she's been my child since I met her at 2 years old. We never use the word step in our home. Not because we're pretending, it's because it's unnecessary. She calls me mom, and every single time, it hits me in the chest like a small miracle. From the start, I swore she'd never have to fight for her place in this family. I promised she would never be treated like a guest in her own life. And yet, I couldn't keep that promise. Christmas at my parents' house is always a production. Silver polished until it gleams, coordinated outfits for the grandkids, elaborate centerpieces. My mom calls it curating joy. What it really means is that everyone has a part to play, and if you forget your lines, you become the problem. David, Leah, and I arrived right on time. Leah was so proud of her outfit, a red velvet dress with shiny gold buttons. She'd even practiced walking in her new patent leather shoes so she wouldn't slip. In her hands was a small gift box she had wrapped herself, glitter paper, a lopsided ribbon, and a tag that read "To Grandma," from Leah in careful handwriting. The kids' table was already laid out, fancy plates, snowman cups, little crackers wrapped in foil, each spot marked with a hand-lettered name card. Except one. At the very end, beside the swinging kitchen door, sat a folding chair. No name card, no cracker, no plate. Just a napkin and a fork, shoved next to the trash can like someone realized too late they were short a seat and didn't want to mess up the picture-perfect layout. Leah froze, still holding the gift in her hands, staring at that chair. Nobody spoke up. My mom just called across the room, "Oh, good, you made it." We were just about to start. David's hand tightened around mine. Leah slipped into the seat quietly, smoothed her dress, and slid the little gift under her chair. I watched her plaster on a smile when Jenna's twins yelled something across the table. She didn't respond, just stared down at her plate, trying to keep the tears from falling. I didn't move. Not yet. I watched my sister take pictures of her kids in their matching sweaters. I watched my mom brag about her handmade centerpiece. I watched my dad sip his wine and deliberately avoid looking at Leah. And I watched my daughter pretend this was fine. Then she stood. Walked across the room. Past 3 people who looked away. She stopped at my chair, looked up at me, and asked, "Can you do the thing you said you'd do if it felt bad again?" I searched her eyes. "Are you sure?" I asked. She nodded. "Yeah, I'm sure." So, I stood. Tapped my glass. The chatter died instantly. My mom looked over, expecting some sweet toast about family togetherness. Instead, I raised my glass and said, "To the last family event we'll ever attend." The room froze. My mom's smile stiffened and fell. My sister's mouth hung open, waiting for a punchline that never came. My dad stared at his plate. I walked to my parents' end of the table, placed a sealed envelope between their plates, and said, "Merry Christmas." Then I took Leah's hand and walked out. No one followed. No one tried to stop us. By the time we reached the car, my mom's scream echoed behind us, loud enough that a neighbor across the street peeked through their blinds. I didn't turn back, because Leah didn't. And she never asked what was in that envelope. Not that night. Not the next morning. She already understood, it was the truth, sealed and final, and we were walking away from it. Everyone was pitching in. Same as always. This time, it was for Owen, my sister's son, who was turning 10. We hadn't even been invited to his party. I knew that because Leah spotted the invitation pinned on his class bulletin board. Bright gold lettering, candy canes taped to the corners, a cartoon dinosaur wearing a party hat. The kind of thing you don't forget to send by accident. And yet, there it was, proof she was excluded again. Still, they had the nerve to ask for money. I ignored it. Didn't reply. Didn't decline. Just let it sit there. 3 days later, an email arrived, but not to me. To David. The subject line said only, reminder. Inside, my mom wrote that they still hadn't received our usual contribution for the winter heating bill. They still live in the house I grew up in, and for years I had quietly sent money twice a year to help with utilities. January and October. Never made a fuss, never mentioned it, I thought it was kindness. But somewhere along the way, kindness turned into expectation. David didn't answer her. He simply forwarded it to me with a note, "Guess your mom's finally talking to us." I didn't respond to him either. Then the texts started. First, from my sister, "Hey, just wondering if you guys are still coming to Dad's birthday. Need a head count for the cake. I assume Leah still likes vanilla, or does she eat cake now?" I stared at that one for a long time. The next morning, my phone buzzed again, this time from my mom. "Tiffany, I don't know what that letter was about, but this is getting ridiculous. Leah is welcome. She always has been. You're making a mountain out of a molehill." Molehill. That's the word she chose for putting a child next to the trash can on Christmas. I wanted to respond. I wanted to send a picture of Leah's face at that table. I wanted to list every year, every slight, every time they looked through her like she was invisible. But I didn't. Because I've learned, people who are determined to misunderstand you will always find a way. So I stayed quiet. And the silence rattled them. 2 weeks later, a card arrived in the mail. Addressed to Leah. Inside was an old photo of her with my parents at a pumpkin patch. She must have been 5. On the back, my mom had written, "You'll always be family. Love, Grandma." No apology. No explanation. Just a sentence meant to rewrite history. Leah opened it at the kitchen table, studied it for a long time, flipped it over again. She didn't ask me what it meant. She just said softly, "I don't think she ever called me that before." That night, I told her, "You don't have to answer. You don't have to do anything." She nodded. "I know." She didn't hang it on the fridge. She didn't put it in her drawer. She left it on the counter and went to bed. A few days later, it escalated. There was a knock at the door. David checked the peephole and turned to me, eyes wide. "It's your mom." I opened the door just enough to step outside and pull it shut behind me. She smiled like nothing had ever happened, as if she were a neighbor dropping by after vacation. "I just wanted to see Leah," she said. I stayed silent. "Maybe we could talk, just the two of us. Clear the air." "There's nothing to clear," I said. She sighed. "Tiffany, this is ridiculous. She's a child. She doesn't know what she's doing." "She knows exactly what she's doing," I told her. "And so do you." Her tone sharpened. "You're turning her against us." "No," I said. "You did that all by yourself." She tried to push past me, insisting she had a right to see her granddaughter. I stepped in front of the door. "No. You don't." Something shifted in her eyes then, cold, unfamiliar. She looked at me like I was the outsider now. "I raised you better than this," she hissed. "You raised me to stay quiet," I said. "That's not the same thing." And with that, I went inside and locked the door. David was waiting in the hallway. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't need to. That night, we told Leah it was official, no more family events, no more texts, no more just let it go. She didn't argue. She just said, good. And that was it. Or so we thought. Because something was coming. Something none of us saw, and it would make everything before look like a rehearsal. We believed the story ended after Christmas. After the letter. After the Venmo requests, the guilt trips, the photo mailed with no apology. After my mom showed up at our door like nothing happened. After Leah said good with such certainty that I could barely breathe. But then Eric showed up. Leah's biological father. I hadn't seen him in 7 years, not since the custody hearing where he lost all parental rights, permanently and without question. At one point, there was even a restraining order. Then a judge's ruling. And finally, silence. He never called. Never wrote. Never tried to see Leah. As far as I knew, he didn't even know where we lived, and that was intentional. Until one Thursday afternoon. I opened the door expecting a package, and there he was. Older. Harder. Same entitled look in his eyes, like the world owed him something and he was here to collect. Eric, I said, already stepping outside and pulling the door closed behind me. He smiled, or something close to it. Heard you've been pretending you're her mom. My stomach dropped. I don't know who told you where we live. Your mom, he interrupted casually. Said it was for the good of the family. Said Leah needs her real mother. I didn't scream. Didn't swing at him. Just stood there, fists curling at my sides. You have no rights, I said. None. This conversation shouldn't even be happening. I've got rights if I want them, he said. And if I don't, maybe you'd rather keep it that way. There it was. The real reason. He glanced past me toward the window. She here? I stepped fully outside, shutting the door behind me. You need to leave. He crossed his arms. Look, I'm not trying to start something. I just think it's fair. I get to see her, or you compensate me for stepping aside. The front door cracked open slightly, Na had peeked out. The second she saw him, she froze, hand to her chest like she'd been hit. Leah was on the stairs behind her, holding a book. She caught sight of Na's face and stopped cold. Go back upstairs, Na whispered to her. Eric didn't see her. Thank God. I stepped forward. You need to leave this property. Now. And when he didn't, I called the police. They arrived in under 10 minutes. Long enough for him to spit out things I won't repeat. Long enough for Leah to hear enough through the floorboards that later she asked, is that man going to take me away? That night, I sat on her bed, held her hand, and showed her the adoption certificate again. Your name is on this. Mine is. The judge's is. His isn't. And never will be. The very next day, David and I filed for a protective order. We printed everything, old rulings, emails, texts. We included the police report. The judge granted it immediately. When I told my parents, I didn't bother with calm. I sent a single message, you put Leah in danger. This isn't just about feelings anymore. It's about safety. You made your choice. So did we. They never replied. A week later, Jenna texted, can't believe you'd destroy your own family over a mistake. I deleted it. Blocked her number. Then we put our house on the market. No big announcement, just started packing. Leah didn't ask why. She just folded her clothes neatly into boxes and labeled them herself, books I love, jackets I hate. 2 months later, we were gone. New city, new school, no forwarding address. No family photos packed. No holiday dishes. No guilt. We promised Leah we'd make new traditions. She asked if we could start with ones where everyone gets a name card. I said yes. And we never looked back. Not because we forgot, because we didn't need to explain it anymore. Fast forward 1 year. Leah had to write a school essay about someone who changed her life. She wrote about me. She didn't show it right away, just left it on the kitchen table with a sticky note, "You'll probably cry." She was right. She wrote, "She's not my real mom because of paperwork. She's my real mom because she saw me when other people didn't, and she stayed." That's all I ever wanted her to know, that I was never invisible in this house, and never will be. So, what do you think? Did I do the right thing? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.